Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I actually haven't even left the house yet to go get my coffee or anything. I just made a cup of coffee in the Keurig. And so I'm gonna sit down here. I grabbed 4 different meditation books that I haven't, well, 3 meditation books, and don't sweat the small stuff. So the dogs are right around me. There's Tucker. Hey, Tucker. And I'm going to read a couple meditations today and kind of get centered. And I'm uploading another video right now. And then once all that's done, I'm going to go leave and drive around and listen to one of my audiobooks while I get some coffee and run some errands. So, are we ready? You ready? Okay. Let's get into this. The first meditation I'm going to read is from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations. I think this is a really, really great meditation book to start your day on every single day. I was actually going to do this video the other day where I did it from my car because I think that there have been moments where I don't have my meditation book with me, like if I'm on vacation or if I've just like gotten halfway through my day and I'm like, you know what, I really need a meditation right now. I really need some positive affirmation in my life. I really need some positivity and how to do that. So I was gonna like just kind of Google ways that I look that up. If you guys would find that interesting for me to do that as a video, it'd be kind of like a field trip video for Peterisms. Let me know and I will do that video. But I have not found another book that I would say is now watch, I'll read this and it'll be a real negative meditation today. But I haven't found another meditation book that I like so well and that is so positive and starting my day on a really positive note with, you know, just at least a positive way of thinking about the world. So we're going to go in here and we're going to read from January 29th. That's today. Let's get to it. Should grab my reader, shouldn't I, Tucker? Courage, January 29th, courage. Courage is doing what you're afraid to do. There can be no courage unless you're scared. Eddie Rickenbacker. Some of us seem to never feel failure, but do we just hide our fear really well? Others of us acknowledge our fear, even when doing so may feel embarrassing. We may be afraid of falling flat on our faces, but we stand up straight and do our best. It's okay for me to be afraid. I can admit this to myself and others and still tackle the things that frighten me. I think it's a really positive meditation and talking about overcoming, you know, your fear. And as a person that is an addict and an alcoholic, you know, that is fueled on 100 forms of fear, you know, it's important for me to admit my fear and discuss my fear with others and to hear them talk about fear and to hear them talk about their fears and how they, you know, overcome fear. You know, there's this idea in recovery that fear and faith cannot exist in the same place, whatever that faith is. It doesn't have to be, you know, faith necessarily in a higher power, although that is what it is for me. It doesn't have to be a faith in a God or whatever, although that is what it is for me. But you know that if you really have strong faith in something, you have a belief system in something, that fear cannot exist in the same space that faith does. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. You know, I think that absolute and blind faith probably, but I would say that I'm a person that has very strong faith. When it comes to that, I don't question a lot. I really don't. And yet I do have fear in my life. I think fear is a counterpart of control, of not being able to control outcomes and situations, you know, whether that's like not being able to control, you know, like, I don't know, just some controversy or, you know, tragedy in your life, or whether that's trying to control a family Christmas or something, you know, and like, oh God, I hope it goes this way, and I hope these two people don't sit together and don't fight and whatever, you know. When you let go of your need to control things and you kind of let go of your fear and you start talking about that, then you're able to, at least I have been, you know, operate in the real world without fear. And I think faith, okay, is where you say to yourself, it's going to turn out exactly the way that it's supposed to be. Well, that's scary. So then when you talk about faith and fear, you talk about almost kind of like this tennis match going back and forth, right? It's like, okay, you say to yourself, well, I'm afraid that this is going to happen, you know, that Aunt Judy and my mom are going to sit next to each other and then they're going to get into a fight, right? I'm just using like this as an example. And then it's like, okay, but what if that's what's supposed to happen? That's the faith part, you know? Or the faith part at first would be like, well, I believe that, you know, my higher power or whatever is the universe is going to take care of this in the right way, you know? And then the next thing is, but what if they get into an argument, okay? That's the fear part. And then the faith part goes back to that and says, well, maybe that's supposed to happen. You know, and so it goes back and forth between faith and fear, faith and fear, faith and fear. And I think I'm at a part now in my life where I'm able to look at situations and really, it's hard, okay? But it's like really trusting that whatever is going on right now is in some way supposed to happen. And what's weird is, even in going through really hard things in my life, I have been able to look back, you know, down the road and say, well, I think that this happened for a certain reason. Like, it makes sense to me now why it happened, but it's not easy at the time. You know, it's like the Maya Angelou quote that I love. When you're going through one of the biggest tragedies in your life, look up and say thank you, because you're about to learn a really valuable message or really valuable lesson. But that's so hard at that time, you know, and it's like, okay, so then if you can't go put one foot in front of the other and you can't trust or have faith in a higher power, does that mean that you don't have any courage? No, it doesn't mean that. I mean, you know, I think we learn a lot from the Cowardly Lion and the Wizard of Oz. I think one of the things that we don't often talk about with the Cowardly Lion is that, you know, he had, what, you know, the Tin Man, Dorothy, and what's the other one? Scarecrow. I mean, he had 3 friends next to him helping him through things, you know? Many of us go through life with nobody to get us through these things. And we're supposed to be courageous on our own, you know? I think that it takes support system. It takes being honest with people and talking to them about our fears and putting one foot in front of the other, and then just trying things out to get through things. I think that's where true courage comes from, you know? I think sometimes the most courageous people that I know are people that just get up and get out of bed and put one foot in front of the other and go to work on a daily basis. True story, I really do. I've known some people in my life that if I told you what they had gone through, you'd be like, I don't even know how they get out of bed, you know? And yet they do, and they don't complain. Those are courageous people to me, and probably many of you out there are those people. So I think that's each person's situation is completely different, you know? Okay, let's read the next meditation, shall we? Boo Radley has been down here the whole time, requiring many kisses from his dad. All right, you guys, you ready? What should be the next one that we read, Tucker? You pick it. You pick it. Which one? This one? This one? This one? Okay. So we're going to read from Meditations for Living in Balance, Daily. Tucker, it better be a good one. I know, you like to talk about karma and all kinds of things. Daily Solutions for People Who Do Too Much. He has a friend at the kennel and her name is Karma. That's why he likes to talk about karma. Okay. January 29th. Mirrors. Oh, this is going to be good because I love talking about how other people are mirrors of our own behaviors. So this will be interesting. It is very easy to forgive okay, January 29th, mirrors. It is very easy to forgive others their mistakes. It takes more... Hello? Okay, I had to start over because I couldn't figure out what Siri was saying at the beginning, and then when I realized it, what I realized was she was saying like 2 of my friends' names, like, and it was their last names too. So I was like, oh no, I can't have it on here. Okay. January 29th, mirrors. It is very easy to forget others their mistakes. It takes more grit and gumption to forgive them for having witnessed your own. Jessamine West. How we hate to be seen. One of the most common fears we have, though it is generally voiced very carefully, if at all, is that someone will see through us or see something about us that we ourselves don't know. We want to control how others see us, and even more so, what they see in us. We want to believe that we are the masters of our identity and what we do. Indeed, know more about ourselves than anyone else can possibly know. Well, we have a little bit of the truth here. And this is so hard to read. We are capable of knowing more about ourselves than anyone else. And there are things we know and can know about ourselves that no one else can possibly know. And we are surrounded by mirrors. People are the mirrors in our lives. Here we go, I love this. One of the reasons they are there is to reflect our blind spots so we can push beyond our own limited self-knowledge and expand our learning about ourselves. Do you notice how my reading gets easier once I understand what this is about? Okay, we may not always like this process, and we may not always like what we see. That's okay, both are still important. Remember, we are mirrors for others too. Being open to this process balances it. The more we let others see us, the more we can learn about ourselves. Take a look at the way you deal with others seeing your faults and mistakes. Is there something you need to work on here? I think it's a great meditation. You know, when we see things in other people that we are quick to point out, or we are always wanting to like, you know, like we're harsh about, right? It can be things that we really like about other people too. That's not necessarily things that we like about ourselves. That is more typically things that we wish we had about ourselves. If we see other things that we like about people, you know, or if you're envious about those people, those are typically things that we wish we had in ourselves. But when we're really hardcore on other people, you know, or we're like judgmental of other people, typically that finger point, I mean, you've heard this said, right? That finger pointing, there's 3 fingers pointing back. Well, there's a lot of truth to that, right? You know, it's like, if I'm saying this about somebody and I'm seeing all of this about them, the reality is there's probably a lot of truth about that within myself, and maybe I need to take a look at that, you know? It was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about 2 people that we know, and they cannot get along. Like, they just really cannot get along whatsoever, right? And I said to my friend, I said, what is so funny is that they're really the same person. And she goes, I know, it's so true though, isn't it? And I said, I mean, they are almost identical. Like, they refuse to see that. I mean, they are like, you could almost think that they were like related or twins or something. It's weird. Like, they're just so similar, you know? And she was like, I know. She's like, it's crazy to me that they don't see how similar they are to each other. And yet they're constantly calling the other person out for the same things. That's the mirror, you know, that those things about other people that we like or dislike about ourselves, but typically those things that we dislike about ourselves are those things that we see in other people, right? And so when we're constantly, you know, judging other people or whatever, it's like, you know, it's interesting to me. If you take the person take the person that you know who is the most critical, right? That is always calling out, pointing fingers, saying, oh, look at this person, this person, this person, this person. Whatever they are saying about that other person, they are telling you about themselves. They are telling you that that is who they are. So as they are saying all of these horrible things about this person, or, you know, dissecting this person's life or who they are as whatever, they're telling you about themselves too. They're telling you that's who they are, right? So be careful of that. You know, like another Maya Angelou saying, when somebody shows you who they are or tells you who they are, believe them. They know themselves much better than you. When somebody sits down, you know, first of all, I'm always very, very weary these days. Now, I will tell you, there was a time when I was a gossip monger, okay? There was a time that I just could not get enough of talking about somebody else back in the day. And I think, you know, having grown up not having a lot of friends, and then getting to the point where then, like, I had a lot of close-knit, you know, friends, I think it was like all of a sudden I felt like part of something. I'm not making excuses. I think that's just what happened, you know? And so then I fell into this gossiping. But over time, what I realized was I didn't feel very good about it. I didn't really enjoy it, you know? Now I kind of find myself not doing that as much, and the people around me don't really do that. I mean, the people that I spend my personal time with aren't really gossips. I mean, they just aren't. And so what's interesting is that when I find myself in a situation where, this was interesting. Okay, so, you know, the place that I worked, it's been 12 years this month since I've been gone, right? So I ran into somebody that was like over me, like was like a supervisor, not my direct supervisor, but was a supervisor at one point. And I ran into her in just like this random place, right? And, you know, I was thinking back of like, and I was like really considerate. I was like, oh, it's so good to see you, you know, how are you doing and whatever. She like did not miss a beat. Like the next thing she said to me was, she said, so have you heard any gossip about, you know, all the people we used to work with? And I was like, first of all, back in the day, that was never our relationship. Like, I would never have sat there and, like, talked to her about anything if I had known. I mean, I just wouldn't have, you know? Like, that was, I mean, I was sitting in a room with her because, like, we were having some kind of conversation about my role. You know what I mean? Like, that was not, and I thought, it was so, I go, no. I go, I haven't. I go, I don't really, you know, that's, no. And she goes, oh, and I was like, I go, have you? And she was like, she started saying some things. I was just like, I realized how little I cared, you know? Like, that part of my life was over. I didn't really care. And I think that's a lot of times, you know, like what gossip is being stuck in caring about people from the past or how they've affected us, you know, and maybe like, I don't know, moving on and letting that go a little bit. Or for me, if I don't have an emotional attachment to somebody, I don't really care to sit and gossip or talk about them anymore. I just really don't, you know. It's a terrible thing when we talk about indifference, but when you move through the point where you have an emotional attachment to somebody, to the point where you have, there's literal, I mean, you have absolute indifference to that person. It's kind of scary, isn't it? When you're like, it's not about like, I don't care if they live or die. It's like, I don't really have any desire to have a discussion about them. I wish them the best. I hope they're having a great life, but I don't really have a need to have, you know, talk about, what was this meditation even about? What was this meditation? We were talking about, Tucker, you picked this meditation. What was mirrors? Mirrors. You want to see mirrors? I'll show you mirrors. Okay, look at this. These two mirror babies. Look at that. Come here, Tucker. Look at that. Mirrors. Okay. Well, we're going to go and we're going to enjoy our day today. So listen, here's the lesson. Don't gossip. It's pointless. Talk about other things that are enjoyable in the world. And when you see yourself being critical of somebody else, ask yourself, is this something that I could possibly see in myself? Because then you're doing the work on yourself. Then you're turning it around and you're doing the work on yourself. And then it's okay. If you are judging other people, well, at least you know that's coming back and you're learning something from it. So anyway. All right, you guys, we're going to get off here now and we're going to go run around outside. You guys want to go outside? All right, we're going to go run around outside. I love you and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.